One of a Kind with Rob Van Dam is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
He's being cool, like, yeah, man, I remember, yeah, I know you're friends with so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Crazy we haven't met in all these years. All of a sudden, his wife, for some reason, starts being the biggest to me. I have no idea why, and I'm using that word correctly here. So this is completely off the cuff, but a lot of it always, it's not like I prepare anyway, so whatever. But so we're talking about altercations and how often do they happen that nobody knows about, that's not reported. I have been collecting a lot of stories for my autobiography, and I got like 40 stories or so, and I know nobody knows about any of them. And I'm still going, by the way, but that's what I've collected so far. And then there's going to be obvious stories that people want to hear about, specific times they remember and stuff. So I'm going to fill that in, and then I'm going to have this thing typed up. And, by next year, I'm going to be having this thing done. That's my goal. This story that I'm going to tell you hasn't been talked about publicly. It's too fucking current. This guy that I'm going to talk about, he's out there. Scott Norton. I'm going to tell you a story about Scott Norton. This is going to surprise you because nobody knows about this shit. But the thing with RVDology is not only applying my values, but I like to share when I learn these values and when they're asserted on a deeper level. And so I want to talk about passivism. Obviously, RVD is a passive guy. Am I too passive? Well, I mean, that's for whoever's judging me to say. But obviously, whatever I'm doing works for me. I eat a lot of shit sometimes. I do believe the nice guy finishes last. Is that part of my duty or my obligation because of my nature? Well, I feel like, yeah, partially because I've chosen to be passive. Thereby, it's part of my duty then to take some stuff, deflect what I can, absorb what I can. That's part of the deal. See, the opposite of being passive is being aggressive. And it doesn't take much aggressiveness to even move forward a little inch. There's standing your ground, and then there's aggressively moving forward. And then there's receding, which would be passive. A lot of us throughout life do any of those things at different times. So we have experience with that. Some people are aggressive all the time. That would not be correct to call me that. In fact, probably too passive. Once in a great while, I'll stand up. Like if I feel like at the airport, somebody like, dude, you closed the door to the gate 12 minutes early. What the fuck? You just gave the last announcement. Because I fly a lot and I know certain things about that. Katie hates it because she knows I'm usually so passive and so calm that if I just ask somebody something like that, she acts like I was screaming and biting their head off. Because to her, that's how that seemed, knowing me. When we're passive, sometimes we reflect back on it and we're like, did I do the right thing? Was I too passive? Like, hey, it might involve swallowing your pride. It might involve looking bad, losing some face, Mm-hmm. But in the end, when you got to consider what if, and you think, what if it would have went the other way? What if I would have acted differently? What could have happened then? What kind of damage could have been done? What good or bad would have come out of that, out of the results? So this is one of those times. And I got to talk fast so that I can go, but I'm just sharing this thing because pretty important, memorable time for me in my travels. WrestleMania is in New Orleans. I'm going to DDP's birthday bash at this club somewhere. And I have been drinking that night. As I remember it, I go into the club and Dan Masters was with me and he was drinking and we split up right when we got into the club. I had forgot that Dan was even with me later on, but I'm by myself and I'm having a good time. I saw DDP, met his beautiful daughter for the first time. Boom, 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 bunch of stuff. And here's Scott Norton. He bounces at the bar. Well, I never met Scott before. So I'm I'm talking to Scott, shook his hand. Nice to meet you. Yeah, dude, you were in New Japan when I was in All Japan. That's cool, man. Always respected you, whatever. Boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, his wife, for some reason, starts being the biggest to me. I have no idea why. And I'm using that word correctly here because she goes, she interrupts what me and Scott are talking about to say, how's your wife? Did she die yet?
Whoa.
I'm like, excuse me? And she goes, did your wife die yet? And I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, I thought, okay. And I have no idea why, and I'm looking at him and I'm like so confused. And then, man, I'm talking to him. And while my hand is I'm using my hands while I'm talking, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, I don't know where it came, whatever, but my hand bumped her shoulder, and she took that as an excuse to defend herself as if she was assaulted. So she started going like this and like pushing me and hitting me. I grabbed this bitch's wrist, and I just turn it to the outside a la Krav Maga, which twists her and brings her down to a submissive fold, shall we say. And then all of a sudden, Scott starts screaming at her, whatever her name is, I don't know, Michelle. And he grabbed her and said, come with me. And they left. I don't know what her name is. I don't think it's Michelle. Like I said, you heard what I called her.
Yeah.
Have no idea what happened. Went along with my night. Next day at WrestleCon, I'm at my table signing with fans, and Norton from far away goes, Rob, you and me ain't finished yet. And I said, anytime, Scott, I'm right here. He comes up to me and he goes, let's take a walk. We got to talk. Let's go. Went over there and he says, that's fucked up what happened last night. I said, I agree. That's fucked up what your wife did. And he said, my wife? She said, you were being an asshole. I said, when? When the fuck was I being? When did I even see her? The fuck are you talking about? And he said, she said that you were being an asshole. And she said your friend was being an asshole. Now, I had forgotten that I was with Dan Masters. And I was like, who? I don't even know who the fuck you're talking about. Anyway, trying to think of how this conversation ended. There wasn't much more to it than that. He was like, well, we're not done with this. I said, hey, I'm right here. Whatever, dude. And I shook his hand. Stuck my hand out, shook his hand. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let him know I got no problem. He walked away. The next year, when WrestleCon and WrestleMania were in Dallas, right? Yes, because this was part of a crazy weekend. So I forgot this just happened to be on that weekend too. He comes up to me again at WrestleCon and says, hey, we got, I'm paraphrasing, we got some unfinished business to do. I said, well, fucking let's do it. I went over and and it's like face to face and we're talking and he's being aggressive. If I was aggressive as him, if I had matched his aggression, no question about it, it would have been physical. I could have considered myself under attack just by how close that motherfucker was to my face. And I could tell he's used to being a bully. He's used to people being afraid of him. And I shouldn't say obviously, but let's just say I'm not afraid of him. It didn't seem like fighting was the right thing to do. It seemed like he was being a good husband, sticking up for his wife and believing her. So I thought about that, but at the same time, dude, what do you want to do about this? And I don't know what the fuck is going on. The second year in Dallas, we're both out by ourselves. I don't know if anybody saw us, but we're talking and it got pretty aggressive. He's saying this about, she said that your wife was being a dick earlier. I mean, she's saying, sorry, my wife is saying that your friend was being a dick earlier. And I said, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. What friend, dude? And he said, she said you were there with a friend. I said, who? And he took his sunglasses and he put them up on top of his head. Mm-hmm. What's that mean? Are you trying to intimidate me, or you just want me to know, like, now you're serious? What's that mean, Scott? Put his glasses on top of his head. I kept mine right where they fucking were and looked at him. And he says, I said, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I have no idea why your wife started acting the way that she did. And he says, look, all of a sudden, when he saw that I'm not backing down and I don't give a fuck that you just took your glasses off.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in my face like this. He starts talking crazy. He says, look, he goes, ask Bubba about me. Ask Bubba Dudley about me. I said, why the fuck would I ask Bubba Dudley about you? He goes, no, you're right. You don't have to ask Bubba about me, but you should ask him about me. I go, Scott, why the fuck should I ask Bubba about you? You're right here. You're sounding fucking crazy to me. That's exactly what I told him.
Uh-huh.
How did this one end? I think he said to ask someone else about him too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, what in the fuck are you talking about? I don't know how it ended exactly. We walked off. I shook his hand for the last time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shake his hand a third time.
Right.
I shook his hand twice when that motherfucker came up. And Scott, if you're watching this, next time I see you, you can extend your hand, or I don't give a fuck. But I respected him enough to shake his hand twice because, like I said, he's being a good husband, sticking up for his wife. I still have no idea what the fuck happened. But after both times afterwards, my feelings were in such a way. I had to question, was I too passive there? I mean, should I just fucking clock this motherfucker, thinking that because people are afraid of him, because back in the fucking 80s, people didn't know how to fight, so big guys could trample everybody. That was before MMA. And besides, that has nothing to do with me. And what is he, in his 70s? Anyway, all these factors together still made me think, if I wasn't passive, if I had just even matched his aggression, if I would have taken my shades off when he took his off, dude, we probably would have went at it. And although, honestly, of course, I don't know what would have happened, in my mind, some serious damage would have happened, because that's not someone that just needs a smack in the face. That's not just a music guy that needs a smack to get woken up and straightened up. That's a guy that thinks that everybody else should bow down to him because he takes shits that are 150 pounds. Well, that's half of him. What's that say? So I did the right thing by being passive. And I haven't even talked about this. And this was just a couple of years ago. It's current. People don't know. I told Bubba, I went right up to Bubba and I repeated the entire conversation. And it was in front of people, and it was at WrestleMania. And I did it to be funny, So I remembered the whole conversation that just happened. I went up to him and I'm like, dude, she said you were being a dick. No, when? I didn't even see her before. She said your friend was being a dick. Who? What friend? I don't know who you're talking about. Dude, ask Bubba about me. Dude, ask Bubba. Why would I do that? No, you're right. You don't have to ask Bubba, but you should ask Bubba. Why would I ask Bubba? You're right here. I was doing that to Bubba and I was like being really physical. And I just thought it was funny to go up to him. I hadn't seen him in like 2 years. I had to go up to him and just start doing that. And he started like looking around and shit, you know, because it was like, I think it was at the Hall of Fame, I think. And everyone was getting ready to go. And he said, Rob, I thought you were about to hit me. He said, I don't know what happened. I thought we were going to fight. And I was like, oh, I'm just being funny. This isn't funny. And he was just like, oh my God, Rob, like, what the fuck? What are you doing? But anyway, looking back at it, you know, I'm glad that I was passive. And if he came up and wanted to shake my hand, I'd shake his hand, you know. If he wanted to fight, I would definitely fight. If he feels like he doesn't like me calling his wife she was a total and we can handle that however. But being the passive guy that I am, I wanted to share this story with you because I think everybody can relate to it where sometimes they're like, am I eating too much shit? Like, am I letting them get with too much away? Should I be standing up for myself more? Am I, you know, and the thing is, just imagine the consequences on if you would have went the other way. And imagine the most extreme consequences. And think about it. Like, if that would have been less than positive, not productive, then use that to help you to feel good about your decision. Because when I say I had damage on my mind, when I think about taking down someone that thinks they're a giant and thinks they're invincible, I feel like it takes a lot of injuring in order to convince that person, you know, so they don't think you just got lucky. They need to be disassembled. So anyway, let's not talk about that because we are passive. And I know that a lot of people do like Scott that know him, and I don't know him. And at this point, I certainly don't want to know his wife. But having said that, I chose to be passive, and the outcome was everyone's still here and healthy.
That's great. Rob, and you mentioned it like keeping your composure like that, and also factoring like what his mindset is going through is like, hey, he's just sticking up for his wife, he's being a good husband and stuff like that, and like you're just keeping your sunglasses on. It's like it reminds me of the show I watched, Justified. It's called with it's an Elmore Leonard book, guy from Detroit actually.
I love Elmore Leonard, dude. He's the best,
dude. Yes. Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna be talking about him again because he's my favorite author of all time. Yeah. So he wrote this character, Raylan Givens, who's like a U.S. Marshal. And, you know, there's a television show about it and stuff like that. But he gets into a lot of conflicts, like in a lot of these, one-on-one things. And how does he handle it? He keeps his cool. And, there's this one situation at a bar where, like, this guy's being a total dick. He comes over with 2 pitchers of bar and, like, just gives him, like, lays it out for him. Like, hey, have a good night, basically thing. Or he gives him an ultimatum for it. You know, or shit's going to go down otherwise. Something like that.
Right, yeah. Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Keep it cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's to have that kind of it's super cool. Dealing with guys like that, you know, obviously I haven't gotten into a lot of conflicts to that situation, but there gets to that point where you're like, what point is the threshold where I got to stick up for myself, where I got to say something in regards to like this guy's or person's going a little bit too far.
Yeah, everyone's threshold is different too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so, but to see like somebody like that who's used to intimidating and scaring somebody and, you know, having them back away, be like, okay, man, hey, whoa. It definitely, you have to keep the perspective of that all, and you handled it very well.
Well, he went back in the way. I don't remember how he ended. It was something like both times I shook his hand. It was like, whatever, Scott. All right. Obviously, there's a fucking misunderstanding here. It was that kind of thing. But yeah, dude, how about last week we talked about karma? Did that happen to come across and affect your week at all?
Well, yeah, it's like just factoring in with the ongoing situation I told you about too. It's like I really kept that in a lot of perspective about like, and just certain life situations where it's just like you think about like, oh man, I wish something like this would happen, or you know, why is this person benefiting from it, or like anything like that. And it's just to keep that all in the back of your mind as the week goes on and stuff like that. It definitely helped me like think about that and just know it's like the universe works itself out, and that's how it is, and it's like there's only a certain amount that I myself can control, and how I handle that moving forward goes against either my values or what I feel about, like, if I were to go outside of that and try to be vindictive or try to be mean, or it creates that negativity out there. So it's very helpful. That's a big one for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So. Yeah, and that was about trusting karma instead of feeling like you got to get everybody back because they hurt you.
Right.
Karma will take care of both of you. Put good energy out there and have a good life.
Absolutely. Damn, Rob, we are going to talk about Elmore Leonard. That's awesome.